Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Indian railways. For millions of people, it's so much more than just a way to get around. It's the absolute lifeblood of the nation. But the question is that lifeline starting to wear thin? We're going to dig into the source material to find out.
And just a quick heads up, this is part of the International English Academy's ListenUp series, which is all about helping you sharpen your listening skills. So as we go, I'll be posing 10 questions. All the answers will be right here in what I'm saying, so you'll want to listen closely. All right, let's get started.
You know, for so many people in India, the railway isn't just transportation, it's really woven into the fabric of life itself. The source material puts it perfectly, calling it the biggest nostalgia machine for the middle class. It's this shared experience that connects pretty much the entire country.
But this beloved institution seems to be caught between two different worlds. And that brings us to our very first question, which is really the core theme of this entire explainer. Is Indian Railways actually steaming ahead on a track of development, or is it kind of stuck in the past, paralyzed by all that nostalgia? Let's find out.
Okay, first up, let's look at the official story when it comes to railway safety. And it's a narrative of major transformation.
So, the official claim is that since 2014, the railways have gone through a complete overhaul, with a laser focus on improving safety. And the result? Well, they say that consequential accidents and derailments have been slashed by nearly half. But the question is, does that claim really hold up under scrutiny?
Because when we start digging into other official reports, well, the data tells a very different and honestly a much more worrying story.
Just take a look at the latest report from the National Crime Records Bureau, or NCRB. That's the official group that tracks accident data for the whole country. It says that in 2023 alone, there were roughly 25,000 railway accidents.
And the human cost of that is just staggering. This brings us to question 2. According to that very same NCRB report, how many people lost their lives in railway accidents in 2023? Listen closely for this. The report reveals that those accidents tragically claimed the lives of around 22,000 people.
And this contradiction just gets deeper when we look at the data from the Commissioner of Railway Safety. It actually shows accidents are on the rise, jumping from 35 to 48 in just a single fiscal year. And what's even more alarming, the source points out that the number of serious accidents actually doubled in that same time frame.
When you put all this data together, it leads to a pretty startling conclusion. And here is question 3 for you. What do experts cited in the source say is happening somewhere on India's huge railway network every 10 days? Their analysis shows that, on average, some kind of accident is happening.
So you have to ask why. Why are accidents going up? Well, the source suggests a huge factor is the people who are running the trains, or maybe more accurately, the lack of them.
The source points to a massive staffing crisis. And that brings me to question number 4, just how many of these critical safety-related jobs are currently vacant? The number is over 150,000. These are the very jobs that are designed to prevent accidents in the first place.
And look, these aren't just numbers on some spreadsheet. These are vital, safety-critical posts that are just sitting empty. We're talking about train drivers, the people who maintain the tracks, station masters, signal inspectors. I mean, these are the folks who are the absolute backbone of safe railway operations.
And the immense pressure on the staff who are still there has some incredibly dangerous consequences. The source describes loco pilots who are so exhausted from a lack of sleep and rest that they literally go into zombie mode on duty.
And this isn't just some hypothetical problem. The source points to a real collision in Ambala, where a goods train crashed because the loco pilot and his assistant actually fell asleep. And this leads to question 5. On which consecutive night duty was that pilot working when the crash happened? It was the pilot's 4th night in a row.
This raises a really critical question about working conditions, and it's time for question 6. What is the official upper limit for a loco pilot's shift hours mentioned in the source? The source reveals something that is just shocking. There is no upper limit. Shifts can be stretched to 14, 16, or even 20 hours straight.
So, with a system that's so understaffed, the issue of where the money is going becomes absolutely critical. So, let's follow the money. The source presents this really stark choice between what looks like prestige and actual safety. The cost for just one high-speed bullet train line is estimated at over 1 lakh crore rupees. And that brings us to question 7. What's the estimated cost to equip the entire national network with the Kavach anti-collision system? The answer is just 63,000 crore rupees, barely half the price of that one bullet train. And it seems that even when funds are specifically set aside for safety, they can get, well, misdirected. And this is question 8. According to the source, what was money from a dedicated safety fund used for instead of critical safety updates? The source alleges it was spent on things like foot massagers and furniture.
And you can see this neglect of core maintenance pretty clearly by the collapse of the Depreciation Reserve Fund. Now, think of this fund like a savings account, money set aside specifically to replace old tracks and signals. It went from having over 8,000 crore rupees in 2014 to basically zero by 2022. The money for replacing that aging infrastructure, it just dried up.
So what does all of this actually mean for the average passenger? Who is the railway really for these days? The data suggests a pretty major shift is happening.
In the decade leading up to 2022, the actual composition of the trains themselves changed. The share of affordable non-AC coaches went down, while the more expensive AC coaches grew. So here's question 9. By how much did the share of AC coaches grow as a percentage of the total? Their share grew a lot, jumping from 15% all the way up to 24%.
But this shift creates a huge disconnect. And here is our 10th and final question. What percentage of all passengers actually travel in those general and sleeper classes, the very coaches that are being reduced? The source cites 2023 data showing that it's a staggering 95%.
And so the source material leaves us with this final provocative question. With safety concerns mounting, chronic understaffing, and this clear shift away from affordable travel, is Indian Railways becoming just another for-profit business? Or will it remain a national lifeline, built not just on steel tracks, but on public trust? That's definitely something to think about.